It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
Shout out to Don Stoney for that artwork. Love it, love it, love it. Coming to store near you, maybe. The Don Tony Danhausen double pack wrestler. I tell you, that actually looks awesome, man. I would love to get one of those custom wrestling figures done. Could I take Deli Man out from the archives and bring it back? Sure. Maybe for one match, but not for WWE levels, obviously. But much love again to Don Stoney for thinking about yours truly, thinking about Deli Man. But we did not get, we didn't get CM Punk. We didn't get R-Truth. We didn't get Jelly Roll. We got Mascarita Sagrada, a.k.a. Mascarita Dorada, a.k.a. El Torito. I got to be honest with you guys. I enjoyed it. I actually, as the match went on, I enjoyed it. I just personally think when it comes to Danhausen, I think WWE needs to tweak how they deal with surprises. All right, because, I think by now we know that if it's something with Danhausen, that expect the surprise to be muted, comedic, reserved. Don't think something massive. I mean, listen, CM Punk was the betting odds by many, and that's because of the friendship with CM Punk and Danhausen. Personally, I thought R-Truth would have been a perfect choice because of the history with The Miz. And people have been wanting R-Truth and Danhausen to do something together. But, they think that this box deal is something to double down on. And I got to be honest with you, El Torito did fine. I can't complain about it. I just feel that they need to handle some of these surprises differently because you see what's happening now. People are fearing celebrities, and when you have your fan base, I'm not talking about occasional fans, when you have your fan base thinking immediately celebrities, that's a problem. And because of the amount of money WWE is commanding now for tickets, for merchandise, on location, streaming platforms, everything, that anytime a surprise is going to be revealed, it better be something fucking big. It better be something huge. And that's what's happening right now. Here's how I look at it. If you go to a billionaire's mansion, like one of these bad A&E movies, you get like a lot of these blonde bimbos that are looking to meet their sugar daddy billionaire so they can make money, like a whole bunch of Anna Nicole Smiths. Breaking news, women do target billionaires just for using them for money and leverage. Billionaires are just as much a dirtbags. Let's make that clear. But just pretend this is a bad Lifetime movie and everybody's going to this extravagant billionaire mansion. Everybody's dressed to the max. And you go there and they got fucking hors d'oeuvres, McDonald's. Everything is budget. Like, you go to something where you pay a lot, you expect a lot. And that is why you're seeing, this weird out of controlness by more fans. Like, hey, I dropped thousands of dollars to go to fucking WrestleMania. These wrestlers know that every single person in an MGM hotel has dropped thousands of dollars to be here. The least you could do is just smile, acknowledge, wave, maybe take a selfie, take a picture. If you're not, bombarded, sign an autograph. After what we're doing, you go to an indie show, you pay $10, $20, even $100. you kind of feel like, hey, I got my money's worth. And WWE needs to understand that a lot of announcements now, especially what they're trying to be, you better fucking deliver. And every time it doesn't, people get more and more disappointed. And you look at the John Cena Classic. The John Cena Classic. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I don't know if you guys saw my thumbnail for this episode. This is pretty much what it is. This is an innovative way to get fan interest content on these streaming platforms. How do we spark a little additional interest on the platform, whether it's Netflix or ESPN? It's not going to be ESPN because ESPN is premium live events and CW programming in the summertime. But this is for a Netflix grab. This is giving extra. This is Saudi Arabia not just settling for Crown Jewel. Now it's Royal Rumble. Now it's WrestleMania. This is just a grab. But when you actually look at this, we had the Mae Young Classic. Why did you put that on the shelf? You had the Dusty Rhodes Classic. Why did you put that on the shelf? LFG is already jumping the shark. And these sharks, half of them don't even know how to jump yet. And LFG is kind of played out. Evolve has kind of lost their identity. This is nothing more, in my opinion, as a way to make fans feel a little bit more interactive. Oh, I can't wait for Club WWE members. You get the first shot of voting. It's all over the place. We'll talk about it a little bit more. We'll talk a little bit about Backlash. I saw it. It was good. 81 minutes of wrestling. That is pretty much the number that you need to target when you're watching a WWE Premium Live event. 80 to 90 minutes of in-ring wrestling. It doesn't matter if it's 5 matches or if it's 8 matches. I saw people... and we talked about this on the predictions last week. It's kind of scary how spot on we were last week with everything. But it's kind of what I said with the prediction show last week. Last year's Backlash was 5 matches. And it had the same length of wrestling as either night of WrestleMania. Same number of minutes. In fact, I think it had 2 minutes more than night 1. And what does that tell you? That tells you that Backlash last year had 5 matches and it went 17 minutes, 20 minutes, 13 minutes. So, half the wrestling media world yesterday was like, they finally learned from WrestleMania. They're letting them work. What are you talking about? It's mathematics. Or if I am going to have 85 minutes of wrestling, I'm going to have 8 matches. It means the average match is going to be 10 minutes long. But I need at least one match to go 25 minutes. That means one match is probably going to be a squash. And that means a couple other matches might need to be a little longer if the others go a little longer. Now, if I have 85 minutes of wrestling and I only have 5 matches, well, now I can average 16 minutes a match. These people that stupid? Just look at last year. We had 85 minutes of wrestling for 5 matches. Nothing changed yesterday. They finally learned from WrestleMania. What are you talking about? No, they didn't. It's just 5 matches. Just like when they go to Paris, they go to Italy, wherever they go. If it's 5 matches, you're going to see this. You might get a 6th match and something might be comedic bullshit. They didn't change. Why do people keep insisting that they're changing? I remember when SummerSlam tickets were announced for Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they were talking about how the VIP was $25,000 compared to $40,000 in New York and New Jersey. You see, WWE is learning from last year and the price grab. No, nitwits. Minneapolis, Minnesota's economy is different than New York and New Jersey. That's why the price is different. It's just like when you go to a WWE event in Mexico, you go to a WWE event in Puerto Rico, you go to a WWE event in France, you go to a WWE event in Ireland. The ticket prices are accordingly priced to the economy, stupid. It's the economy, stupid. WWE learned nothing. They're getting billions of dollars of revenue. $450 million in the first 3 months of 2026. What are they going to change? What are they going to change? Oh, it was 4,000 seats less occupied in Florida. Okay, whatever. Whoa, if we keep up with it, they'll get the message. And then what? They release more people to cut the budget more? They're not changing nothing. They're not changing a damn thing. And it sucks. It sucks. It sucks. There's a lot that I like. There's also a lot that I don't like. My God, my God, my God, that gingerbread, no, this is pretty much the thumbnail I was going with tonight. This is how I summarize the gingerbread man storyline. I envisioned the gingerbread man as a child in his yard on swings, and look who he's on the swings with. He's on the swings with Velveteen Dream. Even though I don't think Velveteen Dream committed any crimes with fans. Stupid for chatting late at night with teenage fans. Absolutely. He's sitting next to R Video. I wonder what RF stands for. We will not mention his name here. You look at the little mini Donald Trump, and who's the guy that offed himself in the jail? The Epstein. Yeah, that's Epstein in the suit. That's sitting with baby gingerbread. This is instead of 1, 2, 3, whatever drive they said, it's 1, 2, 3 dumb shit drive. But I will tell you this. I have to be honest. I will eat my words sometimes. I'm warming up. Oh, by the way, the dog father is in the house. Happy Mother's Day. Mom, happy Mother's Day. Grandma from above, Nana. Happy Mother's Day to all your mothers out there, all your grandmothers out there, to all of you who are mothers and grandmothers. For those who have their moms and grandmas in the heavens, my thoughts are with you. I can't envision my life without my mother in my presence on this earth. We almost lost my mom this year. And my mom is still battling, just having valve heart surgery done. So believe me when I tell you, there's a lot of you out there who have lost your moms over the years. My heart breaks. And I usually don't talk about situations with your moms because it hurts too much. It's something that really, really hits. We just had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about the anniversary, Jason Solomonster losing his mom. And he went ahead and released this kid's book in tribute to his mother. And there's a whole story behind that. When I saw it, I freaking cried. And people are like, hey, did you talk about the book? No, I'm not talking about the book. Why not? Because it makes me think about my mother too much. And she was pronounced dead 7 years ago, twice. Twice, my mother flatlined. That's too sensitive a subject for me. So believe me when I tell you, when I write that my thoughts and prayers are with everyone, I mean it. Because my mother has probably been the most important. My father, of course, too, but my mother is just a different bond. And I'm just very grateful to have at least one more Mother's Day with my mom. Don't know what a year from now has planned, but, just had to be serious for a minute. I know I was trying to avoid Lil Yachty. I admit it. I'm starting to say, okay, all right. Yes, he did fuck up at WrestleMania. But, hey, anybody that's new, especially wrestling, I don't care if you're a hip-hop person. I don't care if you have 500 trillion followers. There's a lot of pressure that is involved, especially when it's something that you have always been a fan of. Now you get the opportunity to live your dream. And now all the spotlight is on you, because not only is the spotlight on you and you have to fucking deliver and deliver it perfectly, But there's a lot of assholes out there, including yours truly, that, don't want you on television. It's not because you're a hip-hop guy, and not because you're black. It's not because of this. It's not because of that. It's just simply because, other people in wrestling that lose opportunities for others. All right? But I got to be honest with you. The guy is taking this shit seriously. It's not one of my favorites, but, I've been watching closely, and he's not embarrassing himself. I have to honestly compliment Lil Yachty. It's not someone that I would want, simply because he's not a wrestler, but I've gone to the point now, I'd be like, okay, he's doing fine. If I keep criticizing the guy now, then there's some other reason behind it. I have to compliment him. I thought he was fine. Send me a stack of those bills, $20 bills, by the way. P.O. Box 140128, Howard Beach, New York, 11414-0128. I'm kidding. That P.O. Box is real. If anybody wants to send anything. You snail mail, whatever, just don't send, narcotics. One time, a lot of you know that, somebody mailed me narcotics to my house. DT, I figured you'd like these. You always talking about how you're in pain. I opened it up, and it looked like Skittles, all different color pills. I went on Google and I'm like, what does this number stand for? And I'm like, holy shit, I got to wear like plastic gloves. I flushed them down the toilet. I have no idea who sent it to this day. No idea who sent it to this day. Yeah, Austin Nance remembers the story. It was a real story, man. Real story. All right. Listen, today we're going to keep it simple. We're going to talk a little bit about Backlash, not too much. We're going to talk a little bit about what's next for Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu. Tribal combat, maybe. Where? I think I know where. I will share it with you in a moment. We'll talk a little bit about just more about the John Cena Classic, what I honestly think this is going to lead to. And I'll also talk about Asuka. Let's open up with Asuka. I purposely did a Google search. I invite anyone out there to go do it yourself too. I went back the last 8 days from May 1st to May 8th. I figured that was a good time frame. And I typed in quotations, Asuka and retiring. And lo and behold, there's not one news outlet out there that was reporting this. There was not one news outlet that was speculating it. There was not one podcast. Well, there was one, but I just didn't write it in my synopsis. No one out there was talking about this. I appreciate each and every one of you out there who remember that for the last 4 weeks, we have been talking quite candidly about Kairi Sane's future and Asuka's future in the WWE. And when Joey924, shout out to him, and I did WrestleMania 42 predictions, the one thing that we were talking about is what the hell are they going to do with Kairi Sane? Because we were speculating if Io Sky and Asuka were going to have a match at Mania. And we did a prediction just in case. Because remember, up until that SmackDown, we thought the match was going to be added. And even during those predictions, we had said that, Kairi Sane you cannot split Kairi Sane from Asuka. WWE has never shown me confidence that they could push Kairi Sane as a single star. And I said that if they do this split, remember, they were teasing this split pretty deep at the time. If they do this split between Kairi Sane and Asuka, I said, that's the end of Kairi Sane in the WWE. Because WWE's never showed me confidence that they will push her as a single star. What happens? Less than 2 weeks later, she's released. Last week on the Backlash predictions, talking about Asuka, go look it up. Go listen to it. I was going to play the clip, but I didn't have time. Around the 90-minute mark, I said to everyone out there, I think Asuka's on her way out. I think Asuka's pretty much done. Because what was the problem? I said, where do you go from here with Asuka? Where do you go after Backlash? Io Sky, Obviously, they've been pushing her as a single star all along, and she's got the Rhea rub. So if they want to revisit Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, that's always there. If they do a draft down the line, they could put her on SmackDown. Io Sky has always been primed to be a single star. Asuka, years ago, was primed to be a single star. But as you heard in my predictions last week, I said, Io Sky beats Asuka at Backlash. Now what? I said it point blank. Did anybody, who does she feud with next, Asuka? Are you just going to put her in random matches? It just didn't feel right. It truly felt to me that this is it. After this, nothing for Asuka. And I got news for you. If you look at the title for this episode, I think it's starting to become crystal. It's starting to become clear as crystal. All right. And somebody super chatted right before we went live, and I want to post this because it kind of has to do with what I'm about to say. Let me see who sent this. Let me give the proper respect. Shout out to Tommy D. You called it, Tony. Asuka is retiring from WWE. But I'd love to know your take why there wasn't any retirement tour, nor did she get her last match at WrestleMania. That's a lot of merchandise money WWE left on the table. Okay. Here's my honest belief, and I think it's starting to come together now. I think, we know that TKO, and this is a douche move. If you think about it, this is a douchey move by TKO. Because of all the hype with WrestleMania, let's not have any negative vibes. Remember a year earlier, 2 years earlier, Brock Lesnar, Janelle Grant, this and this. Let's not have that Vince McMahon. Last year at this time, the Vince McMahon documentary, is already, it's already announced. It's being hyped. There's all his rumors, and this is going to court, and this is going to be reviewed. And this year, let's avoid as much negative press as possible. Yeah, ticket prices, all right, whatever. But, if people are going to go, they're going to go. So what do? They wait until right after WrestleMania 42 ends, and then they hit with the wrestlers. As I said a week ago, that suddenly is catching on everywhere else. You either take a 50% pay cut or you take a 100% pay cut. That's what it came down to. And I truly think Asuka was one of the talents. I think Asuka, they said to her that we're not going to use you like we used to. So take a 50% pay cut, or that's it. That's why you got to be really, really observant. See that pun? Observe. You got to really observe some of the news media out there. Asuka is semi-retired. What the fuck does that mean? Semi-retired. Why not you say she's going to be part-timer? Because they don't know. Gee, she's going to fully retire. Maybe she just got a pay cut. I don't know. We don't know which way. I got it. I'll say semi-retired. Semi-retired. These are the little word games that they play because they don't know. Look at the Google search. Nobody heard anything. Anybody out there says, my sources tell me last week, but I kept it quiet because it was unconfirmed. Fuck you. WWE released Kairi Sane. Yeah, we're done with the Kabuki Warriors. We're not going to keep them as a tag team. Too much money. Kairi Sane, you're out of here. Asuka, we would love to keep you around. 50% pay cut. That's why Asuka posted this social media post. I don't know if you all saw it. She quoted Frank Sinatra. I did it my way. She walked out on her terms. And she's out of there. That's what I think happened. Now, as far as what Tommy said about leaving merchandise on the table and no WrestleMania match, well, here's the thing. And I've been saying this on the shows the last week and a half. And I'm a little surprised that no other shows out there have brought this up. But when you start thinking about this a little bit more, it's starting to make a whole lot of sense. Paul Heyman just did a podcast interview and was asked about the Brock Lesnar retirement. Now, Paul Heyman is very, very slick. Paul Heyman is like, you think I knew? Did you see those tears? Those tears are real. He's trying to play off he had no idea. He could have known for a year. You still cry at the last second. Why? Because you knew you weren't going to cry? You know, they're not going to reveal it. Here's the thing. If Brock Lesnar, and I think we all agree on this, use common sense. Brock Lesnar is like this with Paul Heyman. If Brock Lesnar has been contemplating retirement for a while, why would he not discuss it with Paul Heyman? Why would he not get his take on it? Say, you know, Paul, I'm thinking of that cut. That's it. Why would you hide it? Why would you do spur in a moment? And why would you do spur in a moment? Because I think Brock Lesnar might have been one of those that was asked to take a pay cut as well. And last minute, Brock Lesnar was like, you know what? Fuck this. Takes his boots off, leaves it in the ring, and is like, I'm out of here. I honestly think Brock Lesnar was asked to take a pay cut. Because why would you not have I'm not saying that Brock Lesnar should have had a retirement tour, but why not have something where you tease that if Brock can't beat Oba, then I don't, my client doesn't deserve to be, just spur of the moment, take the boots off, that's it. Leave all this money on the head. Why wouldn't Brock Lesnar retire in Saudi Arabia? Think about this. Could you picture the Crown Prince? I don't know what the time difference is. I think it's like, 6 hours time difference? So that it would have been about 2 o'clock in the morning. No, it would have been about midnight in Saudi Arabia. And just imagine Brock Lesnar starting to take his shoelaces off and the Crown Prince is in bed. He's sleeping. And somebody rings his phone. Prince, you need to turn on the Netflix. Why? And he looked, motherfucker! This prick bastard didn't retire in our country. How does Brock Lesnar not retire in Saudi Arabia, but AJ Styles does? So I honestly think TKO went to Brock Lesnar. Hey, we want you to take a pay cut. We don't use it all that much. We don't know if we could even use you this year. And Brock Lesnar like, let me think about it. And literally at WrestleMania, I thought about it. And he took everything off. That's what I think happened. Now, if TKO and WWE knew that Brock was going to retire, if Brock rejected it and decided he was going to retire, and they knew, if they knew, that's why Asuka's match did not happen at WrestleMania. Because you're not going to overshadow Brock Lesnar's retirement at WrestleMania for Asuka's retirement at WrestleMania. You want to go back to WrestleMania 42, that was the night that Brock Lesnar retired. No one else retired, just Brock. That's it. So that's what I honestly think. They made the offer. She said, no, thank you. And this was it. This was it. I think if they knew that Brock was, and I also think that could be one of the reasons why Asuka's match against Io was so much up in the air. Remember, people were thinking injuries. People were like, oh, I don't know. And they're like, what injuries? Oh, it fell in her head. But there's no she wrestled Kairi Sane. Everybody thought the path was for WrestleMania. This storyline was being built week after week after week leading to WrestleMania. Why was it such an unknown? Plus, you had the match numbers off balance. You had 7 on one night, 6 on the other. Why did you not do that match? Remember this. Didn't Io Sky tweet Asuka? I challenge you to the WrestleMania. Sound like Andre the Giant now. I challenge you to the WrestleMania. One of them tweeted each other, and they deleted it. Now, why would a professional like Asuka or Io Sky tweet something that the whole world is going to latch onto and then delete it moments later, unless it was discussed, unless they were under the impression it was going to happen. But then Brock Lesnar's retiring. Nope. Asuka, you can't retire at WrestleMania. That's what I think would happen. You take a step back, use a little common sense. Just think about a whole scenario. It all becomes crystal clear. Suddenly people are dropping like flies. Not death, but AJ retires, Brock retires, Asuka retires. Cena retires. You're going to have others as well. There's buzz about others. And the New Day quit. Others are turning around and saying, do I take a 50% pay cut or do I take a 100% pay cut? Yeah. That's what's happening right now. And people are starting to realize there's really only two choices, especially when you're on the level of some of these wrestlers. When you look at MFTs, with all due respect to Mr. Mateo and Tonga Loa and others, there's some people out there too low on the food chain. TKO is like, all right, yeah, we'll give you an offer. You either take a 100% pay cut or you take a 100% pay cut. Some people, there's no negotiation. We just don't want them there. That's why I'm a little concerned a year from now. Some people that are brought up to the main roster right now, what does a year from now hold for some people? What's the imminent future for Talatonga? What's the imminent future for some others? With all due respect, I honestly think, Ron Killings just signed that new deal, decent deal. I think TKO is going to turn around and say, listen, man, we had that surge, but yeah, we're going to have to renegotiate. Otherwise, you're out of here. And I say this all the time. Do not feel bad about these people that are leaving because they're the ones that signed the contract originally. They got into bed with the person. They got into bed with WWE. They know that this is a possibility, especially now. The ones that sign new contracts under TKO. It's not like 2 years ago that Mark Shapiro, Ari Emanuel, and some of the others that come from that UFC background, it's not like they walked in and like, oh, these are really nice people, but they ended up being a devil in disguise. No, they've always had this reputation. UFC people were talking about for a long time about how some of them were treated. All right. So this was nothing new. So especially for the people that signed new deals or extensions, whatever you want to call it, under the TKO regime, they know even more. They're not dealing with wrestling people. There's not that intimate connection. Wyatt Six, they don't, with all due respect, they don't give a shit about Bray Wyatt. They're like, oh, Universal Studios, let's milk as much merchandise as we can. Oh, why do we have 5 people? Why? Because, and then it's like, get it off TV. And that's it. It's done. Not even trying to repackage some people. Not even trying to repackage a Joe Gacy or a Dexter Lumis or somebody else. It's just, no. We don't even want to waste our time. This is the world that we're in now. So I honestly think this is what happened. Asuka got the ultimatum. Your partner is no longer here. EO's in a different direction. You're approaching 40 or, give or take. I don't know exactly your age. You have his legendary career, a future Hall of Famer, no question. But at this point now, it's beyond even just putting the stars over tomorrow. And she was offered that ultimatum and she was like, nope, I did it my way. And she retired. 44, thank you. Everybody's saying she's 44. So that's what I think happened. I had the feeling that her career was coming to an end. Because, I'm shocked when I did that Google search and found nobody. I was like, there's got to be somebody out there. Especially in the podcast world, they'll clickbait every title possible. I mean, it was a week ago that Brian Alvarez and a whole bunch of others were giving you word salad about Jacob Fatu could be winning and Roman Reigns was pulled from this and this could happen, but, things could change. And, blah, 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 blah. And 5 minutes later, you're like, blah, 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 blah. 5 minutes of nothing. And what happened? Roman Reigns retained. Roman Reigns retained. And they did the same finish that they did with Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes retains over Randy Orton before people could cry at bullshit. Cody's a little bit different. Randy lays him out. Randy holds the belt up. Hey, and we go off the air. They did the same thing with Backlash. They did with Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns. I will tell you, there was not a bad match on the card. Where do I see Jacob Fatu versus Roman Reigns? I think it leads to Saturday night's main event. Saturday night's main event, I believe, is the third week in May. It's about 7 or 8 days before they go to Turin. So I think Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu they will have their second match at Saturday night's main event. I think it'll be tribal combat. I think it could be bloodline rules. It's going to be something, it'll be something violent. But when you see Saturday night's main event, you're like, shit. Saturday night's main event. Fuck. John Cena retired at Saturday night's main event. I mean, just think about that for me. Goldberg had no choice. You look at how TKO is handling people right now. Could you imagine TKO negotiating with Goldberg? Hey, Bill, if we decided we want to have you do a fucking opening match for the world 3 days before WrestleMania, that's where your retirement match is going to be. That's what's next for you if you don't accept Saturday night's main event in Atlanta. I can imagine the negotiations. They gave, and it's funny because Bill Goldberg will blame Triple H for this. I don't think it has to do with Triple H at all. This is much higher up on the food chain. But here, I think this leads to Saturday night's main event. I don't think you're going to keep this going into SummerSlam. Everybody keeps saying Gunther. Everybody keeps saying Obafemi. I think Obafemi is either going to win the United States the Intercontinental Championship from Penta, or who knows with the John Cena Classic. I don't think Obafemi will become world heavyweight champion leading into SummerSlam. I think it is way too soon. Unless they're going to just save the Braun Breaker belt run until WrestleMania of next year. And listen, Logan Paul, do not discount that too. Logan Paul, they want to put the title on him, sooner than later. The guy has proven that the guy could work, and especially with this Netflix and TKO and social media. My God, every fucking person alive, if you got 100+ million followers, they figure out some way to put you on television in some capacity. And whether you like Logan Paul or not, you can't deny that the guy is all in with this shit. I don't like him, but let's talk quickly about the John Cena Classic, because that was something else that happened at Backlash. Oh boy, do I have a beautiful thumbnail for you. John Cena, the big surprise. Last week, I thought it was going to be Club WWE, until we got showered with ads and ads and ads. My God, you would have thought it was WrestleMania weekend with the Hulk Hogan documentary, brother. Every fucking 30 minutes, there's a Hulk Hogan commercial on. Unbelievable. But this, for the last 7 to 10 days, their TV, their emails, their website, social media, Club WWE, Club WWE, Club WWE, Club WWE. So after a while, they mentioned it so much, it wasn't going to be Club WWE. But what is this earth-shattering, life-changing announcement that rocks the WWE from all the way to the top all the way to the rookies? And John Cena, being the salesman, sells this as opportunity. There's going to be a tournament, the John Cena Classic. Gee, how do we not make it seem like the Dusty Rhodes Classic or the Mae Young Classic or any other tournament we've done in the past for a cup, for a title shot? So this time around, you know, there'll be matches and it'll be NXT versus WWE, because Saturday night's main event, let's be honest, Oba versus Cody was awesome. You had Sol Ruka, you know, working. Awesome. So here's the problem, though. A lot of the NXT stars, Blake Monroe, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, Oba Femi, because he just got brought up. You look at all the names in NXT, they're now on the main roster. Oh, gee. Shiloh Hill. Can't wait to see. I don't have nothing against him, but you look at the NXT roster now, and there's so many names that they have to get adapted to. Like Tony D. You know, like, I have nothing against him, but you look at that NXT, there's obviously great talent. Lola Vice, absolutely. No question. You know, Lexis King. There's definitely names there that I would be all in for. But this is something they should have done a year ago. But here's the added twist. And this, to me, just like boggles the mind. Imagine having a tournament. Yes, wrestling is predetermined. But imagine having a wrestling tournament and you want to try to make it like, what's that TV show with the talent searches? What's that TV show that, you know, oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. Not Star Search. What's the one that's been on for like 20 years with that English prick that we don't see anymore? You know, people could call a number and you could vote for this person and vote for that. American Idol. They're trying to do like Wrestling Meets American Idol. That even if your wrestlers don't win, fans will have the opportunity to vote for their winners. And for everyone on video, I ask you to please look at your screen. Because as soon as I saw this shit at Backlash, I said to myself, oh my fucking God. If TKO makes people call a 900 number to fucking vote on their choice, and they want to really, I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating here, but let's say Danhausen takes on Logan Paul, and Logan Paul wins, or Danhausen faces Austin Theory, and Austin Theory wins. But we'll have the WWE Universe vote anyway. Do you want Danhausen even though he lost, or do you want Logan Paul? Then you look in parentheses. If you call this number for Danhausen, it's $49.99 a call. But if you call this number for Logan Paul, it's only $1.99. I mean, obviously, I'm exaggerating. I'm making fun of it. But how are you? This is a popularity contest. This is what it comes down to. It's a popularity contest. That's why I made this thumbnail for tonight's episode. Every single person in this ring, even you put some main roster stars, Lyra Valkyria, R-Truth. You look at the NXT stars. You look at even Tatum Paxley or Hank and Tank or Shiloh Hill. You look at some of the others. This is going to be a popularity contest. Only the smart marks, and I hate using that term, but only those who are smart are going to turn around and say, you know, this person has lost every match, but they have great work ethic. They're spectacular in the ring. I'm going to vote for them anyway. Soon as you turn around and say fans can vote even if somebody loses, what is that? What is that? This is the perception that, and this is what'll happen. This is what'll happen. Somebody that we root for will lose when they should have won. They'll lose. Other person cheats. They'll lose by a nail, just an inch. So the fans feel bad and vote for that person anyway. Yay, I won the John Cena Classic and I didn't even win a match. Yay. I made the playoffs with a losing record. Yay. This is for young fans that feel a little interactive here, that they're voting for their favorite. And you know what's going to happen? It's going to be on the website, and WWE is going to say, we got 800 trillion votes. Vote often. Vote daily. Vote every 10 seconds. They will tout billions of votes. And all this is just another Dusty Rhodes Classic, another Mae Young Classic, another tournament, a cup, a title shot, the best in the world, the greatest of this, the fucking whatever it is, just for another Netflix hit view. That's all this is. This is, and listen, is it going to be bad? No, I don't think it'll be bad. I actually think it'll be fun. But let me just make this point, and then we'll move on. If someone is losing and they want fans to feel bad for the person and vote for them, let me put it this way. Actually, let me rephrase it like this. If someone should win, why would WWE not push them? Like creatively, how many, listen, this would have been perfect for Karrion Kross if he was still in WWE right now. Put Karrion Kross in that tournament, he could lose to Sami Zayn, he could lose to fucking everybody alive, and the fans will think we voted him in. We voted him to win. You know, unfortunately, the names that many of us would vote for Kairi Sanes and others, they got let go. So if someone should get pushed, if we say this person should win, this person should be pushed, why wouldn't WWE push them anyway? Why would WWE turn around and say, you know, we really want to push this person? Nah. We'll make the fans think that they voted him in anyway. We'll just keep fucking them over and fucking them over. And you think the WWE Universe in droves is going to turn around and vote people out of pity, out of sympathy? You know, no, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. LA Knight is a great example. LA Knight is a great example, but LA Knight is too big of a star to lose repeatedly. This is a popularity contest. This is not the Attitude Era where a majority of people may say, you know, I'm going to vote for that scumbag. Just to shake it up, because when they did Taboo Tuesday and they did other things, I remember when we used to talk about the voting, we were all like, you know what, we're going to vote for these different things just to fuck them up, just to see how they're going to fucking scramble. People were voting for absolute opposites just because. It's kind of like, if you remember Eddie Murphy Raw, remember his stand-up back, Eddie Murphy Raw? And Eddie Murphy was talking about, I don't know who was he talking about? Jesse Jackson, I think it was. And he's like, you know, you have a whole bunch of people who are just like, just for a joke, they'll just vote for him for president. And then the next day they wake up, he fucking won? Holy shit, he fucking won? Like, you didn't expect it. You know, honestly, this is going to be a way to make WWE fans feel that they're part of the decision making, and it's not the case. Back in the day, even when they had like your Taboo Tuesdays and everything like that, if you go back and you look closely, they knew exactly what people would vote for. If you had a women's match, and I don't remember exactly what match it was or who the participants were, but just think back. I mean, look, in this day and age, 2026, you know, Me Too movement is come and gone, and a lot of the politically correct and the snowflakes and all the Karens and other shit going on in this world. My apologies for saying this, but during the Attitude Era, if you were going to have like Lita versus Trish Stratus, for example, and it would say, vote on the stipulation, you can have submission match. You can have Iron Woman match. You can have bra and panties match. Gee, what fucking choice do you think everybody would choose, huh? Bra and panties match. That is true. Go back. Watch. That's what this is. It'll be fun. I just want to see how many times John Cena is there during these matches. The John Cena Classic. Where is he? I'm here. You can't see me. Oh my God. Seriously, man. If they make you pay money, even if it's $1, if they make you pay money, oh my God. I had to put that out there before anyone else does. I checked the net. No one thought of that. Calling 900 numbers. So, all right. Let's continue on very, very quickly. As we expected, Braun Breaker did defeat Seth Rollins. The Vision got involved. Get ready, my friends. Street Profits and Seth Rollins versus The Vision. That is on the horizon. Joe Hendry, maybe you could sing the entrance for Seth Rollins on your guitar. I don't think Joe Hendry will be involved in the matches, unfortunately. Joe Hendry, I think, ultimately will get into, I would make Joe Hendry the special guest referee. That's what I would do. You have the Street Profits and Seth Rollins. They don't like each other, but it's a common cause. Even though Seth Rollins was told for 2 weeks in a row, we don't care about division. We just want belts. We don't care about division. We just want the belts. We don't care about division. We just want the belts. But Seth Rollins wants to make it more personal. And then suddenly on Raw, we need to be united for the common cause. And somehow they'll become a cohesive unit. Because that's how they have to do this. And that's how you milk weeks. And Logan Paul and Austin Theory will still be tag champs. And Seth Rollins will not be fighting for a championship anytime soon. Especially if WWE decides to go Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. SummerSlam is still a couple of months away. And you got to try to figure out how do we get from here to here and Roman Reigns still be champion. So, plus, if this is something I wanted to show you earlier, too, about Roman Reigns. This is the official poster for Paris, Clash in Paris. I think I might have, did I close it? I think I did close it. Let me see if I could pull it up really quickly. Clash in Paris. Where are you? Oh, here it is. Clash in Paris, because Clash in Paris is coming up. Oh, I did have it here all along. There's Clash in Paris. Roman Reigns is nowhere on this poster. I don't think he was ever advertised. Excuse me, Clash in Italy. I kept saying Clash in Paris. Clash in Italy. Roman Reigns was never on that poster, I don't believe. He was on Night of Champions, but he was not on Clash in Italy. If you look at it, Gunther's on there. You have Randy Orton, Obafemi, Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan, Seth Rollins, Trick Williams. That's pretty much. So are they going to be rotating? Hey, Cody, you'll work this event. Roman, you work this event. Cody, you go here. Roman, you go here. When it comes to Night of Champions, it's going to be really interesting. What I think is going to happen, could someone in the chat room get me the date for Clash in Champions? Because before I put my foot in my mouth and say something stupid, I need to verify the date. Someone could pull up that date for me. But very quickly, Braun Breaker defeating Seth Rollins. That was an awesome match. And I do want to make a comment about this Will Ospreay, Seth Rollins comparison that people are doing. May 31st is Clash in Italy. Night of Champions. June 27th. Thank you, everybody. June 27th. Okay, perfect. I will say it. If you do something where you could do Saturday night's main event, or you do another event close to it, you could have Jacob Fatu injure Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns could be out for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or you know what I'm saying? Like you could do an injury angle and Roman, the injury is recovered right after Saudi Arabia. He could end up in Saudi Arabia. No one knows. No one knows. Again, people still don't even know why to change in the thing. Remember, people were like, there could be problems with Roman Reigns. Is he leaving? Is he doing this? He might drop the title. Remember the word salad the last week or two? A lot of the news media out there was giving you word salads. You're like, oh my God, he's removed from the June tour. Oh my God, breaking news. He may lose the title. Jacob Fatu may actually win it. Oh my God, what are they going to do with Roman? Oh my, he might be injured. Maybe they need to do this. And then he could be doing a movie. He could be it could be something personal. It could be a million things. Maybe he's not sure if he could go to Saudi Arabia. Maybe he doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia because of the unrest that's going on. No one knows. So instead of just, oh my God, breaking news, oh my God, no, it's not breaking news. It's, we don't know what's going on. All right. Let's, so very quickly, Braun Breaker. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to say. I watched some people online putting side-by-sides of Seth Rollins doing a couple of move exchanges in the ring and Will Ospreay doing the same moves, especially when Braun Breaker had Seth Rollins sitting on the top rope, does his Frankensteiner, and Seth Rollins flips over and he was supposed to land on his feet and he tripped a little bit, and people are showing the same thing with Will Ospreay. All right. For every single person that does that, fuck you. Because you could compare it in any other sport. You can have a baseball player fucking pitch a perfect game and then get rocked for 10 runs the next game. And then what are you going to do? Taking your favorite pitcher who faces the same team and like, you got rocked for 10 runs. My pitcher shut them out. Like, people do have bad days. And, all of this toxic energy, what happened to, all wrestling fans and this and that? These people out there, anybody that does that are insecure as fuck. Fucking secure. Because when you need this reassurance that Will Ospreay is 10 times the performer that Seth Rollins is, and even the people are like, Seth Rollins, he main events in front of 80,000 people, and Will Ospreay did it for one event, and he had to fucking tattoo it on his arm because it was so out of whack. Seth Rollins is a Hall of Famer and is on Good Morning Football, and Will Ospreay's on Good Morning Podcast, WrestlingPodcast.com. Stop comparing the two. Stop comparing the two. Anybody that does that, that is insecurity. When you have to, it's kind of like this. This is the best way I could put it. And this is true. Some of you tuning in, even Austin Nance that's listening, knows this for a fact. Back in 2006, when we were doing the Minority Report and then the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show, back then we would call out and make fun of every podcast that was out there. In Your Head, a Meltzer, everybody, we would call them the F word, call them some really awful stuff. I admit it, we call them really, really bad shit at the time. And we would just always make fun of them. When I was doing my wrestling hotline in the 1990s, I did an episode called The Weakest Mark. Instead of The Weakest Link, the TV show, I did The Weakest Mark, and I played highlights of every wrestling hotline out there and how fucking awful they were. And I made fun of everybody. And for a good year or two, my thinking is, they're so fucking bad. Don't tune into them. Tune into us. They're fucking horrible. Listen to these in your head freaks and all this other. That wasn't the F word I used, but listen to all these losers. They're awful. They're terrible. They're marks. They're goofs. And then somebody in the wrestling world, I think is a Hall of Famer, but he's not in the Hall of Fame, tuned into some of the shows and enjoyed it and said, Funker, because I wasn't Don Tony yet. Funker, could I give you a piece of advice? Sure. He says, don't tell people to tune into you because they're bad. Tell people to tune into you because you're good. And it fucking hit like a ton of bricks. And as soon as we stopped calling out all of the other shows and making fun of every host out there and just telling everyone why we were good, not because they're bad, we ended up becoming the number one show online for many, many years. And the only reason why that stopped is because I, took my eye off the prize, had a falling out with Kev, had some issues. A lot of it is my fault. I admit it. Took a long time for me to admit that. And at the expense, other people creeped in and took those spots. And it's been a fight ever since. But this is the same thing with the AEW fans out there or the WWE haters out there. You know, you don't need to show us how wonderful Will Ospreay is or he kills this move, because you know what happens? When Logan Paul, as much as I don't like that fuck, Logan Paul does the buckshot lariat better than Hangman Page. And Hangman Page stumbles sometimes and they're like, oh, you had a couple of beers. When you see Logan Paul do it perfectly and Hangman Adam Page looks like he's an Oompa Loompa, what do you say then? Oh, he fucking's got to copy everybody else. It's not right on either side. Anybody that does that comparison shit are the biggest, most insecure people around. And that I would just avoid those people altogether. All right. It's just every time I saw that with the Seth Rollins, Will Ospreay stuff, unnecessary. So Braun Breaker wins. And this will lead to the Street Profits shit. Funny thing is, Street Profits will be on TV for like 6 weeks. And just a little taste of what a title shot may be. But they're going to be inundated with 6-man tags. And I'm sure Montez Ford will take on an Austin Theory. And maybe an Angelo Dawkins will take on a Logan Paul. You know, and then maybe like we'll have a week or two as Seth Rollins implores them, we need to be together. Blah, 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 blah. That's what we're going to get. Danhausen and Minihausen, or some people thought CM Punk, Centimeter Punk, whatever you want to call it. They defeated The Miz and Kit Wilson. Again, I hated the opening. Saw the midget, and I was like, "This got to be a joke." They're gonna set up. They're gonna bring someone else out, and as soon as the bell hit, I said to myself, "Holy shit, they're actually doing this." And I have still shots of when they first went in the ring, and 80% of the fans were not thrilled. By the end of the match, everybody enjoyed it tremendously. And again, it's not Danhausen's fault. It's not Mascarita Dorada's fault. El Torito, whatever you want to call him. It's not either one of their faults. It's WWE. When you want to come off as the elite of the elite, that you should pay $50 even for a shirt, that anytime you want to make a surprise, it better be good. I sound like Vince. Oh, that's good. You want to tease a surprise partner with only 5 matches on the card? Look at this fucking loaded roster. Look at Raw. Look at SmackDown. Look at Julia. Look at Liv Morgan. Look at all these Roxanne Perez. Look at everybody that tagged that. We need Miz and Kit Wilson versus Danhausen and a mystery. But out of 5 matches, the whole roster, Backlash. Only 5 matches. You're going to take 20% of Backlash and give it to them? This surprise better be good. And it's a midget. That's WWE's fault. You want to be this fucking insanely gigantic conglomerate? You better fucking deliver on every surprise, and it better be over the top. Because it's been disappointment after disappointment. Look at Danhausen. I mean, we feel bad with Elimination Chamber. But that's WWE's fault. We're doing a fucking crate every single week. People think, I thought it was Jericho until Tony Khan is like, no, we put time on his contract. And then the trademarks, you know, with everything, the cornerstone and all that. And the rest was history. They have to over-deliver. And now it's like they're under-delivering. And it's kind of like mommy giving you bullshit food when you're a kid. And you're too short to like grab the handle on the refrigerator. And it doesn't have one of those where you could like creep your finger in the middle and pull the door open a different way. Or maybe if your mother is a real asshole, she's got like a code you have to type in order for the refrigerator open. And she gives you an awful fucking dinner with like Brussels sprouts and, I don't know, calf's liver. and asparagus, and you're like, Mom, can I? You shut up. You eat it, and you'll enjoy it, because that's all you're getting. And you got to sit there, and you got to pretend like, this is pizza. Yeah. Otherwise, you ain't eating nothing. Unless you're going to take Fido's fucking dog food. You're gonna go on your knees and start eating the dog food on the floor. You're going to start hoping that there's breadcrumbs underneath the table. You eat it, and you enjoy it. That's what WWE's taking right now. You like it. You don't like it? Too bad. You enjoy it. That's all you're going to get. All right. All right. Oh, my God. I never hit record. That's okay. We got YouTube. I never hit record. Hang on a second. I never hit record for the audio show. But thank God for YouTube, because I could cap the audio from there. So once in a while, I make that dumb move. I forgot to hit record on my mixer, but that's okay. All right, we're going to get into questions. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, you know what? I do want to say one last thing. Io Sky and Asuka. I don't know if you all felt it. Forget what I said last week. You watched this match as it went on. You could feel that there was some big time emotion involved in this, especially on Asuka's side. You could see, and it wasn't just the "We Want Kairi" chants. Listen, I wish Kairi Sane wasn't released. There's a lot of people I wish were not released. But when I saw this movement online, I thought of Cross. I still have my fucking shirt inside which says "We Want Cross." I bought it, but WWE, they're not going to listen. Just to let that sink in. They'll listen to you to win a John Cena Classic, but they won't listen to you to rehire someone that everybody wants to see. The fans can vote. Hey, John Cena, here's this classic for you. How's it about the fans get to vote to bring somebody back? Or you know what? You do the next one. You do the fucking, I don't know, you do the Mark Shapiro Classic. This prick bastard is going to release 19 people, and the fans can vote who stays on the island. You want to do that? Let's do that classic. Let's do the Nick Khan Classic, where everybody gets to vote. Keep that person around. Yeah, you want to make it real? There you go. There's your classic. So, did chant "We Want Kairi" yesterday. And I'm like, chant it as much as you want. Have it trend. I saw people online, it trended for 6 days. And what did that do? It made Kairi Sane feel wonderful. Absolutely. Absolutely. Beautiful thing to see. You think it changed WWE in any way, shape, or form? You think someone out there got guilty? It's like, I feel bad. I don't know. I got this. You think Mark Shapiro was eating like dinner at the dinner table with his wife and kids, and he's got the fork and he's about to eat, and he's just like puts it down, and she's like, "What's wrong, honey?" We released this woman, Kairi Sane, from World Wrestling Entertainment, and the fans, I don't know. I just feel awful for what I did. I feel awful what I did. What do you think, honey? You think that happens? That's like a 1950s TV sitcom. Brian, what's wrong? I can't get, what is the fucking It's a Wonderful Life? It's a Wonderful Japanese Life? That doesn't happen. I'm sorry, Ebenezer Scrooge is still going to be in Connecticut getting that $40 million raise. You could trend it all day long. Fucking get a license plate. WW Kairi. It ain't going to change nothing. They did it for R-Truth, and I think they did it for R-Truth more because the roster was in a rut. And I think TNA's roster was extremely jealous. They're like, fuck, we did all the same shit for Scott D'Amore. They didn't bring him back. We had Carlos Silva. And they brought back R-Truth. TNA tried it, didn't work. They did that open letter. We implore you to reconsider Scott D'Amore. As much as we love Scott D'Amore, and I absolutely praise that guy was stuck in the mud for over 10 years. And whether you like Carlos Silva or not, the perception of TNA has improved over the last year and a half. It feels like they're trying. At the time, it's like, hey, we're doing what we're doing. Hey, we're doing what they're doing. And next thing you know, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 7 years go by. When I do the history shows, it fascinates me to look at TNA's roster 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And you would be shocked how many wrestlers are now in AEW. It'll blow you away. Go look at TNA's, right before they went back to TNA. Go to Impact Wrestling 3 years ago and just look at the match results and look at the Bullet Club and look at all these people. You will be shocked how many people were in Impact Wrestling 3 years ago that are now in AEW. So when you hear, this WWE's pillaging this or trying to get AEW wrestlers and that, you have no idea how many people jump ship from Impact Wrestling to AEW. So just people don't take notice. So just in closing, as far as Backlash goes, Roman Reigns and Jacob Fatu was great. I am very happy we did not get outside interference for most of the matches. Yeah, the Vision, we knew that shit was going to happen. It is what it is. But I'm glad we didn't have a new Bloodline member. Because remember, people like, Zilla Fatu's doing an autograph signing in Florida, same day. I'm like, you bring him in now. They did that 2 years in a row. You don't want to make that the annual tradition. It's the annual tradition, SummerSlam or Survivor Series. Thursday night is the Thanksgiving tradition. 2 years in a row, we had a fucking Bloodline member make a debut. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago it was Tangaloa. Last year was JC Mateo. You don't want to do that 3 years in a row. It's kind of like death comes in threes. That's a death you don't want to do. If any Bloodline member would have debuted Saturday, that person will be released a year from now. Because you had Tangaloa make his debut, and remember Tangaloa. Remember how he fucked up. We shared it last week. The best or the worst of Tangaloa. JC Mateo. So now I'm glad we didn't have a lot of outside antics. The ending shows that this is going to continue. Whether it's Bloodline rules, tribal combat, or maybe it'll be another fucking, Samoan fucking savage, match that we never heard of. It's like, well, you've heard of tribal combat. You've heard of Bloodline rules. But the ancestors, you wouldn't dare. No. That's like the president with the nuclear button. No. We don't bring that match. No. We don't. Unless that's it. It's life or death. It's kind of like that bad episode of Star Trek with Mr. Spock. Just imagine Jacob Fatu and fucking Roman Reigns with these fucking bizarre looking things, or like I think CM Punk said the cherry pepper, fucking necklace. And you have that Star Trek music in the background. Please, just if it happens in San Francisco, just call it a fucking San Francisco street fight. Just call it something simple. We don't, because one thing we've kind of learned with Bloodline rules and tribal combat, when I grew up, Samoans were savages. I remember seeing the Wild Samoans on fucking TNT, Tuesday Night Titans, and they're eating raw fish. Biting, I always thought they bit the heads off of like fish and stuff like that, all savages, And then, you had the Samoan Savage, the Samoan SWAT team in WCW coming out to Halloween music, the movie Halloween, which is to me one of the most epic fucking intros of all time. Samoan SWAT team coming out to Halloween's music is fucking beautiful. Outside of that, Samoans have gotten soft. I don't care what the ancestors had in their bag. You know, there's a reason why they haven't ever brought it out since the Savage days, because it doesn't work. Tribal combat sucked. Bloodline rules is nothing more than no rules. Bloodline rules is no rules. Like, oh, that's innovative. That sounds like primitive Samoans. Like they don't even know how to speak yet. You know, bloodline rules. Okay, what is bloodline rule? No rules. You know, like just street fight. And that's it. Anything goes. Kick your ass. Beat you down. Seriously, bloodline rules. When I remember when it went down, I'm like, so bloodline rules means there's no rules. Okay. And this is what the ancestors, you know, like had in their bag for forever. Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. All right, let's get into some questions. A couple of super shout outs. Oh. I'm going to treat everybody to something for a minute. I put up the history episode for this weekend. That's highlight Edge and Hulk Hogan. I think they won the tag titles this week in history. I don't know if Edge is proud of being a Hulkamaniac back then, but I did get a good picture of Team WCW Family Feud against Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. If you check out the beginning of this week's history show, this is cool. You will hear the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott Steiner. You will hear them compete for $10,000 for charity on the game Family Feud, and they won. They won. Everybody that's ever watched the WCW Family Feud episodes over the years, they always focus on Brian Pillman and who was the other person? I think Z-Man. I mean, great athletes, you know, not the sharpest knives in the drawer. But they didn't win charity, but fucking the Steiners killed it, man. Scott Steiner, I mean, smart motherfucker, man. So I have the audio of it, but I want to share with you something else. I don't know if you guys saw this, but there's a reason why I decided to keep the quality of this photo this bad. So I found a clip. It was this week in 1985. You had Dr. D. David Schultz, who was let go from the WWF because of the John Stossel incident. He is in Memphis wrestling right now, and he is teaming up with the Macho Man Randy Savage. This is 2 months before Macho Man went to the WWF. Remember, they were trying to figure out who's going to be his manager and end up being Miss Elizabeth. This is 2 months before he made his WWF debut. So this week in 85, Macho Man and Dr. D are feuding with Jerry the King Lawler, and they want a tag team match, and they want Jerry Lawler to find a partner. Now, thank God Mascarita Dorada wasn't even born yet at the time, I don't think. You know, could you imagine if Jerry Lawler brought out a fucking midget at that time? So anyway, they want him to find a partner. He can't find anybody. He ends up getting Bruiser Brody, all right? But this week, they had a promo. And Dr. D explained to the world why Jerry Lawler could not find a partner. Now, when I said I was going to keep this blurred, if you look at the shirt closely, if you look at the middle, if you squint your eyes enough, you're going to say to yourself, you know, that kind of looks like a really, really horrible German symbol. You had Macho Man teaming up with Dr. D in Memphis. And Dr. D was wearing these hardcore racist shirts on television. And nobody said a fucking thing about it. But for anyone out there that just wants to hear just a little clip, I wanted you to just hear, it's only a minute long, but I want you to hear Dr. D telling the world why Jerry Lawler couldn't find a partner. He reveals to all of us, just imagine doing this in 2025. Just think of when Jim Cornette got fired from the NWA for using the Ethiopia joke that he used in the WWF in 1994 in other promotions, but because he did it in 2020 or whatever it was, he got fired. Now, just imagine this. Dr. D telling the world that the reason why Jerry Lawler can't find a partner is because he has AIDS.
First thing I got to say is this, Lawler. I don't have to impress nobody because you just impressed yourself by coming out here making a complete fool out of yourself, telling everybody how you followed my career about the people that I have beat. And you know the people I have beat. And you come out here and tell people that you had to pay more money to get Bruiser Brody. That's right. Because I found out something about you, Lawler. Nobody wants to be your tag team partner because you got a disease, boy. I've checked on you. You have a disease and they call it AIDS. I have checked on. Nobody wants that to do with you. And I got another thing to tell you. You're right. I hit Bruiser Brody. I hit him with a stick. But you know why? He caught me holding his woman in my arms. Yeah, that's what he did. And he jumped me and I taught him a lesson. Now, Lawler, I want to tell you something about your woman, about your wife and your girlfriend. The doctor might have had his hands all over her, who knows? I don't have to impress nobody, big boy. If I had to pull this man off of you, baby, last Monday night, he would have killed you. He would have took your life right there, big boy. I had your life in these hands, Jerry Lawler. Like the great film of God's up above, baby. I could have took your life just like that. It would cut all over.
We're going to hear about this match all over the world, Lance Russell.
I can't believe it.
Paris Springs.
Okay, let's go to the ring. We got some action coming up.
By the way, you won't find that quality anywhere online. I worked extremely hard cleaning that shit up. You go watch the video, you will not find quality like that. And for few people that asked, the middle of his shirt has a very racist symbol on it that I had to blur out to the point that you cannot make it out because we don't show those things online. Just do a simple Google image search and you'll see the unedited picture of it. So that's Stone Cold. That to me was Stone Cold Steve Austin. I'm not saying that Steve Austin was racist, but the way Dr. D was cutting those promos, that was Stone Cold to me. I think he's the original Stone Cold. Guy was amazing on the mic. It's a shame that, he was a big time redneck and a lot of people felt was racist. Still, it was what it was. So, all right. Let's get into some questions, shall we? All right. I want to thank everybody. As always, hold on. That's not good. Let's get, there we go. Police Squad. What did I think of AEW's Fairway to Hell? I enjoyed it. It gave me flashbacks of ECW 1996. I think it was Bubba Ray Dudley versus Spike Dudley. They were brawling at a, ECW event, and next door was a hockey game. And I guess they got permission to do this, but the brawl led outside the arena into the hockey rink. And if I remember, because there's a fan cam, our video has a fan cam of it. And I think Bubba Ray Dudley was thrown into the hockey net. It was wild. And listen, ECW, it'll always have a little shrine over here for my love for it. No one at the time looked at it and like, oh, what that's so budget. WWF is at Madison Square Garden. WCW is at the Omni. And, ECW is at a hockey rink. Fuck that. We didn't give a shit. We just enjoyed it. I don't care if the optics made it look small. Fairway to Hell on a Saturday, I thought it was fun. I loved the visual of it. Pac and Darby Allin brawling. Landing on sand is not that bad, guys. Any of you out there ever play wrestled on the beach? Ever fucking body slam your friend on the beach? Do a flip? You don't want to land it on the sand after a rainstorm. You might crack your head open, but you land on sand. It's kind of, I guarantee when Pac landed, he probably was like, wow, this feels nice. It's cool. That sand was cool. The way they did that, I thought it was fine. I think that's one of the more memorable things that we'll remember as far as Collision goes. If AEW ever does a best of Collision, that match will probably be on there. So you don't do it every week. Guardian Chaos says that he worked with Dr. D as a bounty hunter. That's awesome, man. I fucking love Dr. D, David Schultz. I did not, at the time, witness the Memphis stuff. I lived in New York. There was no internet in 1985. You had just magazines, your friends, and you had like a ML Curley hotline, and the guy was a pedophile. He got arrested for pedophilia. You know, there was nothing. There might have been a 976 number, you know, but you had to get your parents' permission. We didn't have anything else. So I never got to see Memphis wrestling until years later. But when Dr. D slapped John Stossel, I mean, everybody thought it was epic because we felt like, yeah, for every asshole out there that tells us that wrestling is fake, for every person out there that think, that's clown stuff, that's a joke, that's not real, you know, everybody, because in the 80s, it was 10 times worse because wrestling was still kind of an underground thing. It was kind of circus. You know, 85 is right on the cusp of the rock and wrestling connection. It's on the cusp. And even when that first happened, a lot of people did not embrace it. It's kind of interesting because in the sports world, I feel like a lot of what's going on in the sports world right now is somewhat how WWF and wrestling was viewed in 1985, 1986. You had some people in the entertainment world accepting pro wrestling at that time in the mid-80s as sports and entertainment. And some people accepted it. But you had a shitload of people in the mainstream entertainment world that still look at wrestling as carny, as a joke, fake. It's not, you know, like, and just would put it down immensely. That happens right now in the sports world. There's just a lot of journalists these days. Shh. They keep their mouth shut because their options are not plenty. You know, that one guy that used to be on ESPN that had that exchange recently with Mark Henry. He's like, why do grown men watch wrestling? He is one of the few that speak out. You know, when you have ESPN in bed with WWE, and you have, you know, Netflix in bed with WWE, and you have other platforms in bed with WWE, you know, the last thing you want to do is have fellow journalists out there. You look at that one journalist that gave WrestlePalooza like a C-. You know, that he did not read the room. ESPN's doing $1 billion deal with WWE. You can't turn around and beat a rogue horseman. What was that jerk-off's name? I thought his criticism was warranted. But when you turn around and do that, you're not a hero. You're not what are you standing up for? The dirt sheet, you know, the smart marks out there, he thought he was a hero until he went to WrestleMania 42 and they're like, no, your credentials are not here. I'm still awaiting an answer from ESPN. I refuse to get an answer. They're not giving you an answer because you what's the guy's name? Who's the guy from ESPN that gave Andreas Hale? He's a legit journalist. But pardon my French, you're a dumb Polak. WWE just inked $1 billion deal with your fucking employer. You can't turn around and beat a rogue horseman and say, I'm going to be honest. They want it. It's kind of like Nintendo in the mid-'80s. You want to have a video game magazine and you want to get tons and tons of pub and business and advertisement, and Nintendo launches right after the downfall of Atari and the crash. You can't turn around and be the Andreas Hale of the fucking video game magazines and say, I give this Nintendo game a C-. Blah, 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 blah. For what? A couple of fans out there that bought the video game? Yeah, good, you stand up. Yeah, it sucked, yeah. And then you go to Nintendo Land, you know, 2 years later, hey, I'm going to cover Nintendo Land. The fuck out of here. And then the moron goes on social media like he's a victim. I don't know why I was blocked and banned. That's like what I said. That's like the guy that treats his wife like shit, doesn't compliment her, doesn't give her nothing, abuses her, treats her like garbage, does it over and over again. And then he thinks when he suddenly sees her driving down the boulevard with another guy, I'm the victim. No, you fucking deserved it, man. You deserved it. You got to read the room. They just did $1 billion deal with your company. maybe you should go cover something else instead. Cover checkers. Cover a different fucking sport that didn't just ink $1 billion deal with ESPN. Moron. You might fucking... you ain't worth it. So I like AEW Fairway to Hell. Jimmy Fingers. I would have loved to hear Kev's reaction to the John Cena Classic. Do I really think that WWE is really going to let the fans decide? Isn't John Cena wealthy enough now that he doesn't have to come back and shill for the company anymore? See, here's the thing. When you're a $20, $25 billion company, there are certain names that you will cow down to. And John Cena is an entertainer. It's just like a movie. It's just like a TV show. It's just like a commercial. You watch, you know, see, I don't have YouTube with commercials anymore, even though I'm going to subscribe to YouTube Lite. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. If you feel YouTube Premium at $17 a pop a month is expensive, YouTube Premium Lite you should look into. It's half the price. The only ads you will ever see is during music videos and rare other stuff. For the most part, everything else will be ad-free, half the price. Someone told me about it over the weekend. I'm looking into it. But here's the thing. I don't get many commercials when I watch television. But once in a while, because my wife has her account and she's got the cheap, version, so she gets all the commercials. And I'm too lazy to log in and log out. So I suffered through the commercials. I can't believe how many commercials John Cena's doing commercials for. You could literally go your entire day and something will have to do with John Cena. You wake up in the morning and you have fucking breakfast and John Cena's holding a McDonald's for you. You go and you get in your car to drive to work and John Cena advertises your car. You go to the fucking office and you go to the snack machine and oh my God, John Cena fucking advertised peanuts. And then you literally go out to the store and then John Cena's on an advertisement. And you're thinking about buying a house and John Cena's advertising a real estate. The only thing we haven't seen yet is John Cena advertising funeral homes and caskets. That motherfucker's done like 200 commercials. It's amazing. This guy is everywhere. So if TKO is like, listen, we want you to plug this and chill this, I'm sure he has certain ethics that have to be involved with it. I really think the fans should be able to have some input on this. Sure, John. What do you have in mind? I can't tell creative what to do. And, I can't predict who's going to get the opportunity, who's not. But I feel, like I'd like the Warrior, like the Warrior Award. It's like kind of like the fans get to choose someone that, may not get the spotlight, but kind of deserves it. It's kind of the Warrior Award. Like the people that work behind the scenes that, you get a little bit of acknowledgement like CM Punk did on his jacket at WrestleMania. So I think that the fans should be able to have some input. Okay, John, I think that's a wonderful idea. Go ahead, sell it. Unfortunately, John Cena doesn't have a clause in his contract that he must have the real stats. Like, you're not going to get the IWC provider or the voting company that's going to handle this. This is brought to you by WrestleStats. WrestleStats. You're not going to have a Twitter account that's going to DM John Cena's like, John, I know, the fans chose Lexus King, but they gave it to Baron Corbin. Oh, but Baron Corbin not even there. I know, but, they said the fans chose Baron Corbin. But WrestleStats has the true numbers, and WrestleStats says that Lexus King really did win it. And John Cena will not know. So, yeah, you could sell it. You could make it seem like this because John Cena has got to be a man of the people. Honestly, I would have liked it better if The Rock would have came out there and said, the fans will choose the people's champion. You have WWE as their champion, you will have the people's champion. I was waiting for somebody to bring up Mason Rook. Mason Rook. My God, Mason Rook. I'll get back to Kev's opinion in a second. I can't believe how many people got upset at this. I don't know if you saw my thumbnail from Wednesday. He's big, he's bad. John Candy was his dad. I know John Candy died 2 years before Mason Rook was born, but that doesn't mean that his sperm wasn't preserved and somebody got impregnated with it. Listen, just because I say he looks like John Candy doesn't mean that I'm suddenly saying that he's an obese Oompa Loompa tub of lard. All right, if you look at John Candy, maybe I should, because I'm looking at the camera. If you look at John Candy and you immediately think John Candy was a lump of lard, and because I say he looks like John Candy, that means I think he's a lump of lard, you, sir, are the problem. Because John Candy is one of the most awesome comedians of all time. Spaceballs is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I fucking loved John Candy acting. And I'm sorry, when I look at Mason Rook and I look at John Candy, their fucking physique is almost identical. Their facial features are almost identical. Their smile, their eyes, everything about it is almost identical. All right? Just so happens that John Candy is a little heavy. That doesn't mean when you compare it to someone simply because, like, that's like saying, like, if you're going to compare someone to someone, they better be model material. They better have a chiseled body. Otherwise, you are demeaning them. I saw people out there writing this stuff online like, I am floored at the treatment at Mason Rook, and yes, he's different as a, like, you're the fucking problem, asshole. Because just because someone says he looks like John Candy doesn't immediately think that they're calling him a fucking obese fucking heart attack waiting to happen. You look at it that way. It's kind of the people out there that Jade Cargill loses the title. She lost it because she's black. See, WWE treats black people like shit. You are the problem. If this was 10 years ago, I might agree with you. But you saw the problem. When you got that warped mentality, you look at the Janelle Grant, Vince McMahon situation. We don't know the truth. But because Janelle Grant looks like the girl next door, she looks like an innocent person that you would rent the library book from, that it's impossible to think that she may have enjoyed having 5 guys on her or all that attention. I don't know what the truth is. But, to turn around and immediately think that because someone looks a certain way, that they have to be a victim. You, sir, are the problem. You're the weirdo. You insinuate that every 180-pound heifer, that's somebody who would enjoy that. Not someone that looks like her. You are the problem. All right, but I am enjoying Mason Rook. I have gone down the rabbit hole. I'm enjoying him. I hope he gets a good opportunity. I don't think it'll turn out like some others that we talked about in the past. But, he's very talented. And as I said on Wednesday, I think the reason why not one person had ever brought up Mason Rook to me and why I never brought up Mason Rook is because, quite honestly, you look at him and that's not someone that you would think WWE would bring in. That's why he was never on our radar, which makes total sense. But just because you think he looks like someone doesn't mean immediately you're demeaning him. I mean, I had to put the ears on him. Do people understand why I did this? Because if I just put him in a regular outfit, then it's like, well, he kind of looks like John Candy. Like, I have to put John Candy as a character, like a role he played. That's how you identify it. If I just put like him wearing because John Candy would wear flannel. So I put a flannel shirt on Mason Rook. Yeah, I can see, the similarities. No, I had to put the costume on him because he played Barf. Barf. He's half man, half dog. He's his own best friend. Do you guys know the history behind Barf and Spaceballs? They never wanted to tell you this. Do you know the history? How Barf was created? I don't know if I should say this on the show, but Spaceballs is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I watched a YouTube video several years ago, like, facts you didn't know about Spaceballs. Barf is the result of a dog being impregnated. You could figure out the rest. You could figure out the rest. Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. Just getting back to Jimmy, I personally think Kev would have written this off as just nothing. It's nothing. I think he would have said nothing burger. I think he would have just turned around and say John Cena's being a snake oil salesman. You know, I think John Cena truly wants the WWE fan base to be entertained, but John Cena is a snake oil salesman. He's sitting there with this big smile on his face, selling, you know, that this is what this is and it's going to make people step up. What do you mean make people step up? A lot of people have stepped up and WWE Creative has used them horribly, John. You know, like, oh, now this gives an opportunity for somebody to step up. You know, a lot of people step up and sometimes they don't get it perfectly. And they need guidance from WWE trainers to help them improve. Not just get released and then bully Ray's like, I don't give a shit about any of them. Maybe you should have done this more. Maybe you should have had more work ethic. Maybe you should have done this and maybe you should have done that. Like, wow, you know, talking about like people who just broke into this business. Like, I know you want to be hardcore Holly and everything, but come on, lighten up, Francis. You know, like these people are just getting it. So when John Cena, like, there's an opportunity to stay down, it's up to WWE Creative. The fate of Lexus King is in my hands. It's WWE Creative. If that wasn't the case, Zelina Vega and Aleister Black would still be working. JC Mateo wouldn't have just looked like a Rhino. You bought Rhino on fucking, what's that, Temu. You know, you wouldn't have seen people come in and then, you know, within a few months, they're like buried. You know, people do work hard. Just Creative doesn't know how to use them sometimes. So this is an opportunity to somebody get some extra TV time. But in the internet age, if you want to see someone, you will. There's a lot of people out there that have seen more of someone in LFG than they've watched in other promotions. So I think Kev would have said it was just him being a snake oil salesman. And I agree. I agree to an extent. Todd Pelkey, thank you very much, my friend. 999 reasons why he enjoys the show. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. You know, I always try to do the shows as if we're all just hanging out, having a barbecue. I don't drink beer, you know, just never agreed with me, gives me gas, but just hanging out, having a drink or something, just talking about wrestling. Unfortunately, you only hear my voice and, you know, I have to read everybody else's, but that's all it ever has always been. So I appreciate you, man. How long have we gone so? An hour and 40 minutes? So we still got about 20 minutes. So Johnny Gargano needs DDP positivity page. You know, I'm concerned about Johnny Gargano. You know, I read something beyond retardation. I read Dave Meltzer actually say a couple of days ago that the reason why we had so many cuts is because TKO was holding off and he didn't have as many cuts last year. When we did that 4-hour show covering the releases 3 weeks ago, I know for a fact I brought up that WWE released people last year in April, May, June, August, September, October, and maybe even December. Sure, it wasn't 30 every time, but when you add it up during the year, it was just as much, if not more, than the year before. I don't know what the fuck he was smoking. But the sad part is 150 wrestling websites will run with it. But just because somebody says it doesn't make it true. That is so wrong. But I am very concerned about Johnny Gargano. I think Candice LeRae, it's going to be a point where we want you to be a trainer. Maybe have an occasional match here and there, but we want you to train the stars of tomorrow. And if you don't want it, no problem. Go somewhere else. I don't see, and I'm a big fan of Johnny Gargano. That's a person that Kevin and I always debated over. Kevin's not a fan of Gargano. I enjoy Gargano. I like him. He's got a good personality about him. He's awesome in the ring. And, you know, he's charismatic. He's got a personality. He clicks with the WWE Universe. But ever since Ciampa left, it's been a struggle. Not necessarily for him. It's been a struggle for creative. It's kind of like Asuka and Kairi Sane. It's kind of like Asuka and Kairi Sane. You know, the only difference is Kairi was forced to leave. Ciampa chose to leave. And when Ciampa left, Johnny Gargano, they saw the writing that, you know, when we wanted to use it with Ciampa. You know, like now Ciampa's gone, and, you know, I think that conversation is coming, if it hasn't come already. And in the case of Asuka, it's the same thing. We have no future for Kairi. And without Kairi, we really don't see a future for you. We would love for you to still be here and help the Stars of Tomorrow. But because we're not going to use you, you know, you could do Bloodsport's out of business. You could do the occasional match WrestleMania weekend against maybe a Shayna Baszler for Josh Barnett, you know, recreation, another promotion. You know, you'll get some opportunity. Maybe you'll make an appearance here and there, but we're not going to use you like we used to. You could be an ambassador. You could help train a little bit, have an occasional match. Otherwise, you know, how do they say? Asuka, sayonara. That's what I think TKO did. I think Asuka turned around and said, that's it. I think that's what happens. Sayonara. Lost but found says, Julia, thank you for the $1.99. Julia's in trouble. And how is Lioness still here? He says Lions. He means Nikita Lyons. I know exactly what you meant. Listen, I was a Nikita Lyons fan. She has repackaged herself because she has no choice. Tony D'Angelo repackaged himself because he has no choice. Listen, again, I know this sounds like a broken record. Hey, how you doing? Like, if anybody out there is going to fucking support Tony D and the D'Angelo family, the Don, the sit down, like, of course it would be me, right? And even I said for years, D'Angelo family will never make it to the main roster. DT, how could you say that? How could you go against your own? Why? That has nothing to do with it. It's just the gimmick was so outdated. Unless you had a Jersey Shore revival or a Sopranos revival or some controversial shit with a whole bunch of Italians, you'd bring that to the main roster. And people are going to be like, oh, welcome to 2008. It never was going to work. And I said it was never going to work. So Tony D, he had to change his character. He wants to go to the main roster. It's not meant for him to be a fucking lifer in NXT. So what does he do? He fucking grows out his hair, grows out his beard, changes his look, talks a little bit different. It's not going to be like a Kofi Kingston Jamaican Me Crazy movement where suddenly he forgets his accent and, he's not, what he was. No, Tony D, they had to kind of like ease it in. But even now I say it. It's nothing against Tony D'Angelo. I don't wish any ill will on him. But I watch him on NXT as the world champion. I'm like, what's his character? What is Tony? And people can't even explain it to me. What is Tony D'Angelo's character? Other than he's talented, he's passionate, he's intense. This is not Kurt Angle. There has to be some type of a gimmick character with it. Not just someone who's hairy, that could wrestle well, who's passionate. Yeah, that's good for Ring of Honor. That's good for the Indies. That's not for Raw or SmackDown. Name me one other person that is excelling, that's doing that on Raw or SmackDown, that doesn't have an identity like that. He doesn't have a clear, concise identity. You look at Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder is a beautiful example. And I said this from day one. He'll go there. It'll be a little bit nostalgia. It'll be like he worked his ass off on the Indies, reinventing himself. And, he finally got back home. And in a matter of 2 months, fans are going to be like, woo, 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 woo. Like, what is Matt Cardona's character other than Chelsea Green's husband. He's intense. He wrestles good. What's his character? I'm Matt Cardona. And I'm Matt Cardona. And you see how they're using him now. Matt Cardona, nice seeing you. Better start embracing the woo-woo-woo, or you'll be out, out, out. And I don't wish nothing bad on him. I'm a fan on the outside looking in. How is it that we can envision everybody from Asuka and everybody else? We could see it a mile away. I just showed you the Google search last week. I just showed you, look, this is real. This is not fake. Look at that. Not one show or one news outlet for 8 days leading into Backlash, did not say, my sources tell me that Asuka may be leaving, is considering retiring, maybe stepping back for a minute, maybe change of plans. WWE may not have much for her going forward. Nothing. There's nothing. Not even one. If I wouldn't have been lazy, if I would have got off my fat ass last week and wrote in a synopsis, is Asuka retiring? We would have been the only search result. That's my fault. See, I've realized after all these years doing this, since 1997, I've realized now that I have to tweet every fucking fart of everything I say. Otherwise, it's not said. Case in point, did you see a couple of days ago trending? Fans talk about Royal Rumble being 2 nights starting next year. And the person who started it, I like him. I'm friendly with him. He's very intelligent. I'd love to do a show with him. Great guy. He doesn't listen to me on a weekly basis, so he has no idea that 9 months ago, you and I repeatedly were talking about Royal Rumble going to 2 nights. Women's Royal Rumble match main eventing night 1, men's Royal Rumble match main eventing night 2. That's a year old. But because I didn't tweet it, nobody knows. I watch this every fucking week. People with these light bulbs. That's why I put the poster out of the 900 numbers, because suddenly this will become a thing and somebody will put it out there and it'll trend. So-and-so proposes that TKO could make it a paid. You have to put everything out there in 360 characters, whatever it is. Otherwise, it doesn't exist. That kind of sucks, to be honest with you. But Nikita Lyons had to reinvent herself. Otherwise, she's a goner. She's a goner. She's been there to the point now where I truthfully believe if she doesn't get to the main roster by Royal Rumble, she's gone. She's working hard. I was a big fan of hers. Her and fucking Last Legend. Remember that thumbnail? Thick chicks. I'm like, that's the team. Last Legend and Nikita Lyons, man. Thick chicks. Guys love the thick chicks. It just got to the point where she became like a caricature. Like, you didn't focus on her wrestling ability. And I'm sorry for sounding like a pig, but I'm just telling it like it is. And I'm sure she knows this already. But it got to the point that people were only into Nikita Lyons to watch her punch and kick on social media, kicking bags and watching her tits jiggle up and down. Like wearing revealing stuff and going violent in the gym, and nobody was talking about her wrestling ability. It was just like, doing all his fights and kicks and flips and all this, whatever she was doing, and wearing his revealing stuff and people just watching it bounce, and nobody was talking about her wrestling ability. Now, 4 or 5 years in, now it's all wrestling ability or nothing. And I hope she makes it. I really do hope she makes it. I mean that sincerely. She's worked very, very hard. There's no denying that. Julia, I think, will be fine. They have to do something. And I don't think, there was a point that it felt like Stephanie Vaquer and Julia were on the same playing field. When they first came in together, they were in NXT. It felt like it was even. In fact, many people thought Julia was above Stephanie Vaquer until they did that four-way match in NXT. And then suddenly Stephanie Vaquer went just like this. And Julia was awesome. But, you know, she's got to be able to be a little more affluent in speaking. There's got to be passionate of voice. You can't have somebody by her side in order for her to get it. That's not necessary. So something needs to change. And, you know, she should be safe for a while. I mean, if you fuck up Julia, that's a problem, man. Because Julia is unbelievably talented. And who knows, you may get Julia in Io Sky. You may get that. You may very well get that. So, thank you for that. And Bobby Means. So what if Goldberg's streak didn't end at Starrcade 98? Where would I rank his streak? You know, the streak obviously was enhanced. You know, when you actually start adding up numbers, I mean, it's kind of like if you watched some people see, I always keep an episode count of what I've been doing for many, many years. I keep an episode count. And, you know, I know that people are very, very aware of how many episodes I've done. Like tonight happens to be episode 200. For real. This is the 200th episode of the sit down. 200th. I don't celebrate it. To me, you know, here's to another 200. Let's continue. But if someone ever challenged me and says, show me all 200 episodes, go ahead, go look it up. They're all online. All 200's online. I don't normally number things. I should do that more often. Now I am. But my point is, back in the day, you would see like someone say, episode 100. And then they do two shows. Suddenly it's episode 106. Then they do another 3 shows. It's episode 115. And it's kind of like, oh, so, you know, within 3 weeks, they're up to episode 150. People would just tack on extra numbers just to tack it on. Goldberg's streak was legit at the time. It felt strong. It was nothing like the perception of Andre the Giant at WrestleMania 3. The funny thing is, they always said that Andre the Giant was undefeated. I mean, obviously, that's ridiculous. But if you wanted to choose an era from, I don't know, 1984 or 83 to like 1987, all right, maybe he's undefeated. You know what I mean? Like, Andre was defeated multiple times. Andre was body slammed multiple times. But at that time, because of wrestling, you know, still being like underground in a soap opera and, you know, fictional, you know, you went with it. You really couldn't fight it. You didn't have a Meltzer at every corner. Like, that's not true. Andre has lost 73 matches in his career. When he was Andre Rousimov in France, he lost to Alfrica. Like, you didn't have a Dave Meltzer on every corner doing that. You kind of just bought into it. So Goldberg, it felt legit because we never saw Goldberg lose. When Goldberg lost and he did the cattle prod and everything, it was just bad. But at that time, I think fans were starting to get a little bit tired of Goldberg's streak. And you go back and you look at that time, they were teasing Goldberg turning heel. They had Goldberg at one point standing side by side with Bischoff and Vince Russo. They were trying. Remember when they changed? Didn't they give him a Metallica song or something? I mean, they tried to get Goldberg a little bit more as a heel to kind of masquerade some of the boos. People were getting tired of it. Just like Hogan. Somebody just asked me on Patreon Thursday, my favorite World War III event of all time. And I said 1995. And if you go back and you watch World War III, 1995, when Randy Savage won the WCW World Championship, Hulk Hogan, when he got eliminated, fans booed him. They cheered for Randy Savage. They booed Hogan because Hogan, insisted that he was still in the match and fans booed him. That was a year before NWO. Fans were starting to get tired of Hogan, and they realized, that's why when Bischoff says, we decided we're going to, we confronted Hulk about turning heel. Fans were, bullshit. A year earlier, fans were against him. Not in unison, but there was a clear, you go back and watch World War III, 1995. And that's a year before. You started to see the writing on the wall that something needed to change with Hogan. It's just that when we look at it years later, you want to just summarize it and this and that. Goldberg's streak was legit, but it got to a point where fans would get a little bit tired of it. Plus, he ran through the roster so quickly that once he got through Hogan and won the title, it's kind of like, okay, now what? How do you maintain that? And they couldn't. They had to turn it into real deep storylines. For Goldberg, for quite a while, you just have him spear, jackhammer, grunt, growl at the screen. Fans were pumped up, loving every minute of it. Pin, done, 90 seconds. And that worked for a long time. Once he became champion, how do you maintain that? And they had to shift it to storyline driven. And it was a hot mess. So I think even though the streak ended poorly, I think the streak needed to end. It's just like Asuka. If you would listen, I kind of feel bad saying that because we don't try to use Goldberg and Asuka in the same sentence after Goldberg disrespecting her last year. But look at Asuka. I remember this clearly. When I was still friendly with Mish, when we were doing Breakfast Soup, we had an interesting conversation about Charlotte Flair versus Asuka at WrestleMania. And at that time, there was a lot, the people were shocked to see Asuka getting some losses at that time. And then she feuded with Carmella. She might have even feuded with Carmella first, but the point is, when Asuka feuded with Carmella, they had to figure out, how do we bring Asuka down to earth a little bit? Because she had that undefeated streak in NXT. She came to the main roster and dominated like no one else. And it got to a point like, okay, we have to figure out, how do we get Asuka on a level where people could beat her and it's believable and people don't lose their shit over it. So you get James Ellsworth getting involved, and he would screw Asuka over. He would ultimately get his ass kicked, so people would kind of forget about it, but there would be special circumstances. And Asuka would get a few extra losses. You get a couple extra losses. Then she would lose to Charlotte. Then she would lose to this. And then all of a sudden, Asuka's on a similar level to a lot of others out there. You had to do that with Charlotte Flair after a while. That's why some people still find it almost impossible to believe that 2-3 years ago, Charlotte Flair had a streak of like 0 wins and 40 losses. It was shocking for people, but you have to bring people down a little bit. And, WWE, that's how they did it with Asuka. With Goldberg, that's how they did it in WCW. So, yeah, she did lose to Charlotte. That's my point. We were having this deep debate because you had to start bringing Asuka down to earth a little bit. You can't just have her so up here and everybody else over here. And, that was the big discussion at the time. So, all right, we're at 2 hours. We're going to wrap this up in about 15 minutes. So, because tomorrow we have a loaded show. I'm going to make some emails, some DMs, try to get a few more things answered, maybe solidified. We will find out tomorrow on Raw as far as what's going on with Asuka. I think Asuka will have the opportunity to say goodbye. I don't think that she will just drift off of television. I think that there will be a moment, kind of like with AJ Styles, what they did with him. Could Asuka go in the Hall of Fame next year? Yeah, possibly. In fact, it might be the best opportunity because she's in Saudi Arabia and, she doesn't really speak, like fluent English. So you don't really have to do all that much. And I think that might be the easiest, softest environment for her to do it in. And plus, you got to also think about this too. Asuka may not want to slow down yet. If this is a case that TKO told her that take a pay cut, otherwise leave, Asuka may want to continue full time. And if Asuka's going to wrestle in Japan, if Asuka possibly goes to AEW, if Asuka shows up in TNA, if she is still wrestling full blown, she ain't going to no Hall of Fame next year. First of all, I think she would decline it. And she would be, no, I still wrestle full time. No, not yet. Not yet. So the only way I see Asuka going in the Hall of Fame next year is if she does want to step back. And I don't get that vibe. Last week, the vibe was, what is WWE going to do next? And to me, there was no path. That's why I said I think she's done. And we ended up being right. So I think it's going to all depend on what her immediate future is. Obviously, 90 days, we're not going to really know much of anything. But you start getting into, the latter months of the year, then you start thinking, okay, what does she do next? So anybody that claims that they have inside sources, where were those inside sources leading up to Backlash? Not one of them had anything. So we'll see what happens. We shall see what happens. So Danny Havoc says, how crazy is it that Brock Lesnar's first run was only 2 years? It's insane because it feels like it was a little longer. Brock Lesnar, it's mind-boggling how quickly he picked up with it. Because I watched him, this is infamous. I saw a dark match with Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle in Madison Square Garden. I don't remember what year it was. I don't know if it was 2002 or 2001. I think it was 2002. But it was either 01 and 02. But they did a dark match in the Garden and they sucked. They were not very good at all. And within short order, he shows up and I think, didn't he demolish Spike Dudley? Like powerbomb after powerbomb after powerbomb. And I met Brock Lesnar. I did an autograph signing here in my neighborhood. If you Google it, you'll find it. I did an autograph signing with Brock Lesnar back in 2003 or 2004. You will see my name. Look up Brock Lesnar, Video Game Central, Howard Beach, New York, and my name, Anthony DeBlasi. You'll see it all over the place. We sold, I think, 100 autographs online. And after the autograph signing was over, I was in the back with Brock. He personally signed every single one of them. Kev used to say it on the show all the time. I got Kev one. And he sat there and he wrote every inscription. Somebody wanted something extra. He sat there and he was a cool motherfucker. Like I said, there's proof online. You could look it up. Obviously this is 20 some odd years ago. So Brock Lesnar's a much different person. But at that time, very, very cool. Very cool guy. So, and it was the first ever promo photo he did in WWE too. Do I think he had the best rookie year? Yes, I do. You know why? Titles are a creative decision. Someone could win a title in their first match. Someone could win a title within a couple of months. Somebody could get shitload of victories in a couple of months. And that's all creative, pushing a certain narrative. But with Brock Lesnar, there was a vibe about him that when Paul Heyman, the next big thing, and just his presence and his size, this was a freak of nature. This was something, and the interesting thing is, it didn't feel like Goldberg. That's the thing. Like Goldberg felt like a gimmick. Like in the ring, power move, spear, jackhammer, look at the screen, spit, grunt, pin. Brock Lesnar, it felt more like he'll punch you in the mouth if you say something nasty to him. Like that's someone you don't want to fuck with. I'm not saying that Goldberg was a wimp. I'd be afraid of Goldberg too. But if you were in a dark alley and you walk past Goldberg and you walk past Brock Lesnar, you probably were shitting bricks a hell of a lot more at Brock Lesnar. So I think Brock Lesnar had the best rookie year because of the presence, the aura just the thought of what could be. Just somebody who stood out so insanely different. That's what it is. You could have an amazing, talented wrestler come in and have an awesome first year. No one was in the same league as Brock Lesnar in size and physique, and just, it was different. It was different. Let's see. I don't know if Kevin Milwaukee's asking this for me. When did I first hear marijuana being called babanya? Oh, yeah, it is direct to me. I just in my neighborhood. I think it was like in the 80s. I think somebody just said like, oh, he's going to get some babanya. I don't even know if that's a real word. Me and my friends would hear it said back in the day, babanya. Yeah. It's kind of like when I came up with the word matarats. Like, I don't know, like, I know people used to say stugats, which I think means dick. And I just got mad at somebody one time, and I was like, you're fucking matarats. What did you call me? I called you a matarats. It's not even a real word. It just sounded derogatory. And it took a life of its own. Look on Urban Dictionary. Look up matarats. Matarraz. I think it is. Matarats. You'll see. I actually invented that word. And there's even audio. And the audio is so old, you'll hear me say on Urban Dictionary, Jeff Jarrett, while he was in TNA, don't be a matarats. Seriously. I'm not kidding. I think this is when Jeff Jarrett was cheating with Karen Angle on Kurt. I was like, don't be a matarats. That's how old it's on Urban Dictionary. Go look it up. Do I think Brock and Vader would have been fire? If it would have been in Japan, absolutely. Because Japan would have let them go a little bit. And I don't think they would have shot on each other, but I think it would have gotten so physical that I think it would have felt like, okay, now they seem legitimately pissed at each other. But I think once the match is over, no matter how intense it got out there, I think they go and have a beer after. I think Brock and Vader would have had shitload of fun. But I think Japan would have been the place to do it. Japan. I would have loved to see Brock and Vader go at it in Japan. I think that would have been fucking big time. So, you want to know something, Brian? Vader, in the early days of WWE, he still had the vibe. I liked when he was with Paul Bearer. I think the problem with Vader in the WWE is that they took away some of his aura. Like, you didn't have the mask, the smoke coming out of it. You didn't have like a little bit of the spectacle that was attached to Vader. And let's also not forget, when Beyond the Mat came out, Vader was not there very long. And you had a segment in Beyond the Mat where Vader is unlacing his shoes and he's soft-spoken and he's talking about real estate and this and that. And you were like, wow, he sounds like such a friendly person. Like, that's not, like, when he went to Kuwait, I think it was. What was the country that he got detained and they were going to give him 10 Singapore cane lashes? Was it Kuwait? When he got detained, he still had that aura. When the host said that wrestling was fake, Vader still had the badass aura. It was Kuwait, yeah. My memory's still there. That was awesome. When he, got detained, that was awesome. But in short order, people started to see that he was just a softie. And I remember when he worked some indie shows and he worked for the Mass Maniac and I was involved in some shows. I've told this story before. One time Vader called me up and he's like, could you please get Frank on the phone? I'm like, sure. I call up Mass Maniac, Frank. I was like, Vader's on the phone. And Vader almost crying on the phone, apologizing. I can't make the show. He had a legitimate excuse. He's like, please, Frank, I'm so sorry. I'll work the next show for free, this and that. That's all you had to say to Frank. As soon as he heard the word free, okay, no problem. We'll figure it out. And we had a replacement. But Vader, I met him in person. Very, very nice man. Very nice man. All right, let's start bringing this home. Roderick, what role do I see Royce Keys eventually playing in the Roman Jacob Fatu feud? I don't know if there will be any. I like what they're doing with Royce Keys right now. It feels real in the sense they're letting his personality come out a little bit more. It's challenging, but it doesn't feel stressful. And I think putting him right in the middle with Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns would be asking a lot. I don't know if that's the way they should go. They're having some interaction. Personally, I think Jacob Fatu will end up feuding with Royce Keys. I think that could happen. And unfortunately, though, the way it seems right now, Royce Keys may be on his back, looking up a little bit. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but right now, there's some involvement with Jacob Fatu, but I don't think it needs to escalate to the point of Roman Reigns. I think that would be a little bit of a mistake. So, let's see. Swabby. He remembers Vader on an episode of Boy Meets World. I do remember that. I used to put that on my WrestleVision reports. Vader appearing on Boy Meets World airs at such and such time. He was very, I'm like, look, I do know some people who have said, you do not cross Vader. Very, very nice man, genuine. But if you pissed him off, he did have a temper, but genuinely a good person, really. I heard nice things about him. So, and I mean that. I'm not just saying it because he passed away. I do believe, it's real. So, Tristan and I did not like the Vince Stephanie I Quit match. The men on women violence I never really got into. Intergender matches I'm not that big of a fan of. It's just, style. It's just something I just never liked. And, just the Vince Stephanie dynamic, I just never got into that. So, Vader dressing as Santa Claus. Look, Vader truly was a nice guy. I just feel that shouldn't have been anything that ever should have been on television. You want to do a little comedy, fine. You want to do a little bit of beach stuff with Vader and Sting and the British Bulldog, and like Terry, fine. But not where he's doing Santa Claus and looking goofy. And to me, even though we laughed our ass off, I admit it, we laughed our ass off. In fact, one of the episodes I just brought back online, if you all want to hear something funny, sad, but it's true. Whatever week it was, maybe someone could Google it right now. Whatever week the Monday Night Raw was, where Vader returned with Jonathan Coachman and he jumped off the apron and he fell on his ass. That episode of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show is online right now. And if you hear the beginning of it, you'll hear Vader's music and you'll hear the song and you'll hear me. I mixed in, I've fallen and I can't get up. It's the one. You ever see that commercial with the old lady back in the day? I've fallen and I can't get up. I mixed it in with Vader's song and we couldn't stop laughing that night. Maybe somebody could pull up the date. What was the date that Vader took the spill? Because we did an episode that night and you listen to the first couple of seconds. If trust me, if I had my episode library in this computer, I would share it right now. But you just go on Spotify, just check out my archive, go in the search box. Someone will pull a date. I'll definitely share the date in a moment and just look up Don, Tony, Kevin Castle for that date. And the first thing you'll hear is Vader's song and you'll hear that old lady. I've fallen and I can't get up. October 31st, 2005. Thank you, douche. Just check out the October 31st, 2005 episode of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle show. I'm almost tempted to go on my Dropbox right now and download it and then just post it really quick. But I'll get hit with a copyright. You can't play Vader's music over here. I'll get hit with a copyright. So just go check it out on Spotify. So it is funny, though. But you had to laugh at it. We felt bad, but that doesn't mean you don't laugh at it. It was funny. It was sad funny. You cover it. You got to be honest. Somebody fucks up, botches, you got to laugh at it. So, yeah, the old episodes, Hulk Hogan, creepy as ever. You know, last year up until December 31st, I would splice in some old DTKC intros, you know, just as a tribute. We kept Kev on a lot of the banners. Kind of like keeping a seat at the table. You know, I've said, you know, anyone out there has ever lost a family member, and for a little while you kind of keep the setting at the table, or you keep just, that's kind of like what I did in 2025. I mean, it got to a point that we had to start tweaking it a little bit, you know, and I still have more to tweak. It's just, we've been online for so many decades that it's not just snap at a finger, change a couple of photos, and that's it. There's so much to tweak. And sometimes some audio platforms out there don't update. There's one audio platform, I don't remember which one it was, but I saw last week, it still has our like plug for like 2019. And I'm like, how do you update this? I can't figure out how to update it. So, all right, let's do one more. And then we are jetting. Remember, I'll be live tomorrow, right after Raw. It's going to be interesting to see how long Raw goes tomorrow, because last week it was so short. Raw ended about 20 minutes shorter than usual. You would have thought as the go home to Backlash, at minimum, you keep it the same length. I don't know why it was so short last week. I was also surprised that no one out there even really made mention of it. I noticed it, because we usually start immediately after, and I always figure 10:40. This time around, 10:20, it was like, oh shit, it's over. When I saw Lee Fitting, I was like, oh my God, they're finishing this early? So we will be live right here, same channel, youtube.com/Don Tony, right after Raw ends. We'll cover Raw. We'll get into any wrestling news that I could add, you know, anything that I could piggyback from tonight, we'll cover too. So, yeah, SmackDown going back to 2 hours spells the writing on the wall for some people. I don't know who. I'm not going to make predictions. There's some names that obviously we're concerned about, but there's only so many spots on television, especially when you realize that they're going to be busy now trying to build up some spots. Now you do this John Cena Classic. I mean, I expect some of these matches to happen on NXT. And that's interesting, because if it happens in NXT, that's CW. That's not Netflix. So how are you, I don't know how they're going to do this. We don't even know the participants. I do believe that Robert Stone in storyline is going to select some names. I think there'll be maybe a panel. If I'm WWE, maybe you have a couple of legends come in. You know, if you remember, oh my God, what's that that tournament that they do now? This Iron Survival. Do you remember how they brought in Road Dogg, they brought in X-Pac, they brought in this person, they brought in, I think, Lita, and they would have like some input as far as who should be in the Iron Survivor Challenge? They should do this with this as well. And if I'm John Cena, even if it's pre-recorded, John Cena should also mention a couple of names. I think John Cena, you put your name on this, I think he's got to have some input on this too. So we will see. We will see. Yeah, I think I could bang one out. I haven't done a Vince McMahon in a while. Well, I did earlier, you know, but you're fired. I haven't done that in a while, so because he's not around anymore. So, all right, one more. Let's see. Who's going to get the last one? What do I think of we don't want to, well, I'll mention this too, but I don't want to end on a history thing. Sherry Martel's women's tournament for the lady. Oh, is a Sherry Martel women's tournament? I could see that in AEW. Sensational Sherry was awesome, but she's not revered in the WWE as much as she should. I mean, she'll always be remembered with Shawn Michaels. You know, her intro is still, in a lot of people's minds, even though you have, a variation now. I just don't think WWE revered her name enough to have a tournament after her. Like, I could see AEW doing something like that, but I also think you need some connection with AEW and something with Sherry Martel in some capacity. Like with Owen Hart, you had his wife. I don't know who you get in the Martel family that could. So I don't know if you could ever do that, but I just think, these name tournaments are fine, but I don't know. This John Cena one, just putting the idea that fans could vote on someone who loses. I mean, I'll say this. I'll try to make a positive out of this. You ever have qualifying matches for the Elimination Chamber? You have 4 qualifying matches. And what does WWE do once in a while? They'll have the losers of every qualifying match get a second chance. They'll fight and get a second shot. If I'm WWE with this John Cena Classic, that's what you should do. You have a bunch of people who have lost, and you have the fans vote on who gets a second chance. That's maybe what you could do. But the idea of having someone win and they lost is stupid. It's stupid. I mean, just think about wrestling as a whole. Wrestling is already predetermined. It's almost like this. Oh my God, I can't believe this makes sense. Remember when Ariel Helwani talked about John Cena smiling and tapping out to Gunther? And Ariel Helwani's like, in UFC, there's some outcomes that the fans truly want and the bookers truly want. But unfortunately, because it's real, it doesn't always happen the way that it should. But WWE, you had the opportunity to have it end the certain way, and you didn't do it. It's almost like John Cena having this second chance thing. It's almost like the grin. He should have closed his eyes on the show yesterday, and he should have been like, to the wrestlers who lose in the John Cena Classic, the WWE Universe can vote on somebody who gets a second chance. It's almost like creative fucked up. So now the fans will be able to right the wrong. Isn't that kind of funny? That kind of makes sense as we I think we got to close out with that. It's literally the smile. WWE fucked up creatively. John Cena Classic. WWE fucked up creatively. But now the fans can reverse it. Oof. That's why it's not good. You want to give someone a second match? Fine. Let the fans vote on who should get a return match to face. Who knows? Danhausen could go on a losing streak. And then you have like 4 or 5 different losers. And you get to choose like who ends up, getting the match after all. Do something like that. So I don't know. I just hope that they thought this out completely. Because it sure feels like they haven't like figured a lot of this out yet. It's almost like somebody a week ago was like, dude, I got an idea. What if we do this? We could have the John Cena Classic. And yeah, but if we make a decision and the WWE Universe hates it, well, we could do an idea where they could vote and they could right the wrong and have somebody win that originally lost. Dude, that's an awesome idea. Dude, that's what it feels like. It feels like a couple of people got high the day before and they're like, dude, I have an idea. Let's do this. I don't know, man. Let's see how it plays out. Let's see how fucking long this tournament is. Does it culminate at the Survivor Series? Much love, everybody. I'm out of here. I hope you could join me Monday night right after Raw, youtube.com/Don Tony, wrestling-news.com, and go check out the archive. Put up a couple of thousand episodes that are just waiting to be enjoyed. October 31st, 2005. I've fallen and I can't get up.
It's now time
That's
for...
not right. That's not right. This is right.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.